Alexandra Eala did not just play a tennis match at the Miami Open. She lit a fuse, and in a single afternoon, she exposed something the tournament had been quietly concealing for years. The Miami Open is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It calls itself the fifth Grand Slam. It sells glamour, prestige, and the promise of world-class tennis. But on a sun-drenched afternoon in March 2026, a 20-year-old from the Philippines walked onto that stadium court, opened her mouth, and cracked the whole thing wide open. This is not simply a tennis story. This is a story about power, rules, double standards, and what happens when a young woman refuses to stay quiet, even when the entire establishment is telling her to just serve the ball and move on. 1 year earlier, to understand what happened in March 2026, you have to go back exactly 1 year. March 2025. A 20-year-old Filipino player named Alexandra Eala walked into Hard Rock Stadium as a wild card ranked 140th in the world. Nobody knew her name. Nobody had given her a seat at the table. On the third day of the tournament, she was playing on court 4 in front of approximately 20 to 30 fans. Not a typo. 20 to 30 people, the kind of attendance you might see at a community park match on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. What followed stunned the tennis world. Eala defeated Jelena Ostapenko, Madison Keys, and Iga Swiatek on her way to the semifinals, where she ultimately fell to Jessica Pegula. A player ranked 140th in the world, on a wild card, with almost no fanfare, had taken down Grand Slam champions, taken down a top 5 player, taken down arguably the most dominant force in women's tennis at that point. She became the second wild card in history to record 3 consecutive wins over Grand Slam champions at a single WTA event, and the first Filipino to reach the semifinals of a WTA 1000 tournament. The first in the history of the sport. Eala herself called it the highlight of her career. That's what put me on the map. Everything clicked after that. I look back at that moment and I just think, wow. It was insane. It's crazy to believe that actually happened. What followed was a cultural earthquake in the Philippines. A nation that had poured its sporting soul into boxing, and Manny Pacquiao suddenly had a new hero, a young woman with a tennis racket and the fearlessness to look the world's best players in the eye and say, "I belong here." The Miami Open had accidentally given itself the greatest gift in its 40-year history. A story. A real, emotional, unscripted story that money cannot buy. And yet, here is the twist nobody talks about. The very system that allowed Eala to become Miami's golden story was the same system that would come back to haunt the tournament exactly 12 months later. March 2026. The match that exposed everything. By March 2026, Eala was no longer a wild card story. She was the 31st seed, ranked world number 29, defending the 390 points earned from last year's semi-final run. She had graduated from Cinderella to contender. The stakes were different now. The pressure was real. And the draw had handed her a match nobody would consider easy. Laura Siegemund, 38 years old, German, experienced in every possible way, and notorious for one very specific thing. Siegemund plays with maximum deliberation between points. She breathes. She walks. She turns around. She adjusts. And while she does all of that, the clock ticks, and sometimes the clock appears to mean nothing. The match lasted 3 hours and 20 minutes. Eala lost a grueling opening set in a tiebreak after leading 3-0 and holding 4 set points. First set points gone. Then, in the second set, with Eala serving at 2-1, 30-15, Eala mistossed a serve. A completely routine occurrence. It happens dozens of times in every match. But instead of waiting for her opponent to resettle and serve again, Siegemund walked away, turned around, and retreated toward the back of the court. That was the moment Eala had seen enough. She approached the umpire's chair and said what needed to be said. "Can you watch her time? Because many times she's delaying. I was about to serve, and she turned around." The umpire replied, somewhat helplessly, "The time has been watched, and she knows. And you as well, you need to be careful of the clock." And then Siegemund, with a cold calm that only comes from decades of professional experience, delivered a line that would define the entire controversy. It's not about the time. It's about the focus. Read that again. She was not denying she was slow. She was reframing deliberate time violations as a mental tactic. And in doing so, she accidentally admitted everything. The broadcast cameras captured it all. The tennis channel displayed a statistic that left viewers speechless. Eala was exceeding the 25-second shot clock on 57% of service points. Siegmund was doing so on 85%. Almost every single time she served, in plain sight, on a major stadium court, at a tournament worth tens of millions of dollars. And the umpire's response was essentially, we know.
Carry on.
The broader failure this was not a one-off incident. This was not the first time Siegmund's opponents had raised this exact complaint. Coco Gauff had gone through a nearly identical experience against Siegmund at the 2023 US Open, saying at the time, "She's never ready when I'm serving. She went over the clock 4 times. You gave her 1 time violation. How is this fair?" 3 years later, same player, same tactic, same result, a shrug, and the match continues. The shot clock rule was supposed to fix this precise problem. When it was introduced across the WTA and ATP tours, it was presented as a modernization of the sport, a commitment to keeping matches moving, respecting viewers' time, and ensuring basic fairness. The rule was clear. Players have 25 seconds between points to serve. Exceed that and receive a time violation. Except in practice, it is not enforced that way. Eala's complaint, combined with similar frustrations expressed by Carlos Alcaraz during a match in Qatar, made the same point simultaneously. Tennis needs to change how it applies the shot clock rule. Common sense must prevail from those in the chair. Not just about strict timing, but about understanding the flow of the game and genuinely respecting what players endure on court. The clip spread everywhere. Within hours of the match ending, social media was flooded with reactions from tennis fans, casual viewers, and sports journalists. The conversation quickly shifted from Eala versus Siegmund to something far larger. Former players weighed in on podcasts. Journalists ran pieces examining the tournament's enforcement record. And a central question emerged that tournament directors and WTA officials do not enjoy being asked in public. Why does this keep happening? What the Miami Open was protecting. The Miami Open had built its entire reputation on being elite. Its founder had originally aimed to make it the first major tournament of the year, the Winter Wimbledon, and that ambition had shaped everything about how it presented itself. The venue, the production, the prize money, the draw. Everything screamed prestige. But prestige requires consistency. Prestige requires rules enforced equally. Whether the player demanding fairness is a veteran German with decades of professional experience or a 20-year-old from the Philippines standing at an umpire's chair on national television saying, "This is not fair." What the world had just watched, captured on broadcast cameras, confirmed by real-time statistics, was a tournament failing that basic test. And when Eala said what she said to that umpire, she was not merely calling out one opponent. She was calling out the system that had allowed that opponent to operate that way for years, across multiple tournaments, multiple opponents, and multiple officials, without meaningful consequence. Eala moved on. The conversation didn't. Eala won the Siegmund match 7-6, 6-3, 6-3, and moved into the next round. She defeated Magda Linette, the player who had just stunned world number 3 Swiatek, 6-3, 7-6. She was competing well. She was exactly where a world number 29 should be at a WTA 1000 event. The internet was not moving on. Then came the round of 16 and Karolina Muchova. The story took a different kind of brutal turn, not one of controversy but of cold, unfiltered reality. Muchova swept Eala 6-0, 6-2 in under an hour. 20 winners against 11 unforced errors. The opening set lasted 22 minutes. A clinical, almost ruthless dismantling. And for a section of the audience that had been waiting, the response was immediate and predictable. The player who complained had lost badly. See, the problem was never the system. The problem was you. It is one of the oldest and most effective ways of silencing dissent. Make the person who spoke up look weak right after they spoke. But even Eala's loss to Muchova could not erase what was already on record. The Siegemund match was out there. The statistics were documented. The question, why does tennis refuse to enforce its own shot clock, was not going away because one player lost a fourth-round match. What she said after here is where the story pivots completely. Because Eala did not disappear. She did not sulk. She did not go quiet. What she said after everything had unfolded is one of the most mature, composed statements any athlete has made all year, and it reframes everything that came before it. Sitting in front of the press after losing to Machova, she said, "Even though I had great wins, after a great win, I'm not all that good. And after a bad loss, I'm not all that bad. I have to look at it very objectively after I've processed the loss better." That is not the quote of someone broken by controversy or pressure. That is the quote of someone who has quietly built a philosophy of resilience that most players twice her age have never found. And then she went to social media and, instead of fueling the fire still burning across tennis forums worldwide, she wrote something that stopped people mid-scroll. "I can confirm Miami is still the best. I'll always have a special place in my heart for this tournament." First Sunshine Double done. First Sunshine Double. Completing both Indian Wells and Miami in the same season. She had done it through the controversy, through the blowout loss, through the ranking drop. She had completed a milestone most players spend years chasing. And in that single post, Eala did something more powerful than any complaint to an umpire could ever accomplish. She separated herself from the noise. She claimed ownership of her story. She made clear that Alexandra Eala is not defined by what happens to her. She is defined by how she carries herself through it. The uncomfortable truths that remain, but her grace does not absolve the institutions around her from accountability. Speaking on the Served podcast, Eala reflected on her rise with characteristic honesty. It's hard to accept or really see yourself as someone with that much influence. Nothing changed much in terms of who I am from 2025 to 2026. It's just that my success kind of skyrocketed, which I'm very thankful for. She is grateful. She is grounded. And she is also right about something the Miami Open has yet to fully reckon with. The shot clock controversy she ignited revealed that the WTA's enforcement mechanism is inconsistent, umpire-dependent, and easily gamed by players who understand its gaps well enough to exploit them deliberately. Automatic shot clock enforcement exists. Hard, consistent penalties exist. The technology to track time violations exists in real time. Tennis Channel was literally broadcasting the statistics as the match unfolded. The problem is not a lack of tools. The problem is a lack of institutional will. Eala had said before the tournament, "Opinions or expectations can change. That is not in your control. I know my truth." She knows her truth. The Miami Open is still figuring out its own. What it all means, from a wild card on an outer court with 30 fans to a seeded contender calling out systemic unfairness on stadium court in front of a national television audience. Alexandra Eala's Miami Open journey is one of the most compelling stories in modern professional sport. She won when she was not supposed to. She survived when others expected her to crumble. She spoke when most players would have stayed silent. And when the fallout arrived, she responded with a grace and a perspective that turned a controversy into a statement of character. The shot clock debate she ignited is larger than one match, one player, and one tournament. It is a question about what kind of sport professional tennis wants to be and who it is willing to protect.